When I was in fourth grade at Twin Lakes Elementary School, my teacher finally figured out a way to get us to be quiet after recess. Like most fourth graders, we found it far more important to socialize after the bell rung than to immediately get to work, until there was a reward involved. My teacher came up with the idea that every time we came in quietly, he would pass around a container of popcorn and a paper bag. And the idea was every time we were quiet, we would take a handful of popcorn from the container and place it within the bag. And once that bag was full, we got to watch a movie. And this strategy worked brilliantly. The concept he was counting on was this: that our desire for an eventual reward would outweigh our momentary desire to socialize. And he was absolutely right. Do you realize that this same concept applies to our suffering? When we are in touch and grasp the eternal reward that our suffering produces, it really frames the context of our suffering. Now listen to Paul's words in 2 Corinthians 4:16 through 18. He says, "Therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. For our light momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." So notice four things that Paul says here. One, he says his outward body is wasting away. And he knew that well through all the beatings that he endured. And many of us can relate to that. Two, the core of who he was, his inward person, was being renewed day by day, even in his suffering. Three, he says his suffering was momentary and light. Now, he's not saying that, suffering was easy by any stretch of the imagination. He was simply saying in light of the eternal reward, it was momentary and light. And then fourth, he's encouraging us to really fix our eyes on the eternal reward that our temporary suffering is producing. I think it's so easy to go throughout life oblivious to this concept of an eternal reward that our suffering is producing. I know for me, this is a weakness of mine in my faith journey. I think sometimes I get the inward characteristics that suffering is building or how it's equipping me to help others. But when it comes to this concept of the eternal reward it's producing, that's not a reality I hold close to me. And that can be a cause to really cause our endurance to be small amidst our suffering. I mean, imagine my immature fourth grade self who's forced to be quiet after recess with no idea that there is a reward coming, right? My endurance was short. Paul, on the other hand, as he grasped this, was able to live a very joy-filled and purpose-filled life even amidst his suffering. And so my encouragement to you and to myself is that we really preach to ourselves daily this idea of an eternal reward that is being produced through our temporary sufferings. And so I want to leave you with this question. In light of your current sufferings, how aware are you of the eternal reward that they are producing? And I want to just give you this one last reminder. Tonight, I'm extremely excited to connect with you and many others at 8 o'clock live on our Facebook page. I'll do a quick devotion on this theme of suffering, but more importantly, I'm excited to receive questions from all of you in the area of how suffering is producing Christ-like growth. So that's tonight at 8 o'clock. If you haven't already, email me those questions, and I look forward to seeing you then.